Honourable Chairperson, this is Honourable Smother. Mr. Makari, is there a reason why we're not starting, maybe? I'm just trying to understand.
Good morning, honorable members.
Good morning, Chairperson.
Morning, Honorable Chair.
Yeah, we are about to start with our meeting, and I will request Mr. Mukari to flight the agenda so that we can start. No, thanks, Mr. Mukari. That is our agenda, honorable members, which will be opening and welcome, roll call and apologies. On the purpose, we are going to deal largely with the questions, draft questions for 2019-2020. And then we will also be reflecting on the partial and non-tabling of the 2020-2021 reports, because that is going to have a bearing in terms of the questions. And then it will be followed by departments and entities that received clean audit. And we will finalize on the planning of the financial years. So that is the program before you. And if you are comfortable, can I get somebody who will move for the adoption of this agenda?
Chairperson, I'm happy to move for the adoption of the agenda. It's Honourable Smother speaking.
Oh, yes, and then there's Honourable Apiri. Honourable Apiri. So, can Honourable Apiri unmute? Okay, but I get a sense that there's nobody who's objecting to the agenda being adopted in the manner that it is. And I will therefore want to come to the first item there and declare the meeting officially opened and indicate that this is the first meeting in a long while after we tabled our recommendations to the legislature. And we got an opportunity to debate very firmly in the manner that we agreed the last time. So many things have taken place since that period, and you will notice that for Scopa, we could not operate like any other portfolio committee or standing committee because by the nature of our engagement, we normally take a long period. But secondly, that we are dealing with the entire financial year. It can only be fair to engage physically when we deal with those kinds of issues, so that we can allow the departments or the entities to come with all the key people. On that basis, and or against, it is against this background that when we were stuck at the different levels of COVID, we could not call the meetings. But from today onwards, I'm sure as we continue, we will outline as to how are we going to run with the actual questions when the time comes. Otherwise, when we go down, you will note there are departments that got the clean audits, and that can again be attributed to the kind of work that we are doing as Scopa. So with those few words, you must feel welcome and be free to participate. And let me also thank Honorable Apiri, though we can do that better in a different meeting, when she represented us at the SADCOPEC annual general meeting that was taking place in Malawi. So with those few words, you are welcome. Let me request Mr. Mkari to speak to the apologies. And Mr. Mkari, I'm sure you will also speak to the apologies by our support staff if there are those that could not make it, because whatever success that we achieve is largely through their support. Mr. Mkari.
Oh, thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. Good morning, members and colleagues. I have not received an apology from honorable members. I think they might be, I'm trying to call some of them that I'm not seeing in the meeting. Maybe they are stuck. I did not get a response from Honorable Makuru Peche. I'm trying to get hold of her and others. We'll at least update you as time goes on. From staff members, we do not have an apology. It was Ms. Karen Kruvier who indicated that she might be in or not out. And I'm trying to get hold of her and I'm not getting a response. Thank you. I'll update you as time progresses. Thank you very much, Chairperson and honorable members and colleagues.
No, thank you, Mr. Mkari. When I look at the honorable members that are here, it does appear like we are correcting as the standing committee. And on that note, let me then request Mr. Mkari again to speak to 4.1, which is largely the main purpose of today's meeting.
Oh, thank you again, Honorable Chairperson and members and colleagues. The questions that we are going to consider and adopt are questions for 2019-2020 as you have received them. And these questions, we did them some time ago. We could have adopted them maybe in the first or second quarter of the year, but owing to other conflicting schedules, we could not hold those meetings to adopt them. We, as staff for the Standing Committee on Public Accounts, we met for some days and we consolidated these questions and we sent them out to members to make their inputs. Let me just give the Miss Elizabeth Molechi Mutimele to speak to these questions. She has prepared a paper to speak to them. Through you, Chairperson. Thank you very much.
No, thanks, Ms. Mutimele.
Good morning, honorable members, Chairperson, and colleagues, and thank you, Mr. Mkari. The paper that is flagged there, it's not the correct one that I'll be using. Yes, this is the correct one. Honorable members and colleagues, like Mr. Mukari has indicated, I've provided a summary of the number of questions that appeared on each department as well as public entity. Maybe just to give a brief of the columns there, you see the unwanted expenditures, irregular expenditure, unauthorized, fruitless and wasteful. Then there is annual financial statement, there is events after the reporting date. What we did here was to look at the issues that cut across all the departments. Like, I'll just start with education to say in education, you will find 11 questions. In those questions, there is a question on irregular expenditure. There is a question on unauthorized expenditure. There is a question on fruitless and wasteful. There is a question on annual financial statements. And then I didn't see any question regarding the events after the reporting date. This one here, the events after the reporting date, members, if went through the questions, it's an issue in the budget, the COVID. So I just tried to summarize what is appearing in almost all the departments. And another reason for drafting this was to actually assist us as the staff to plan as far as the program is concerned, to check the number of questions for each department so that we can be able to give it a department the relevant date. So in a nutshell, all the departments that will be appearing before Scopa, they have issues on annual financial statements, all of them. Then others have irregular expenditures, others have, like the table is showing. But of critical importance is that when we start when you look at the questions, each and every department, it's been given a question to brief us on the resolution status, to brief us on how far are they with the implementation of the resolutions. So if members have gone through the questions, I think one thing that the members can do is just to assist us as support staff, whether we should add or we should reduce, and then just critique the document as presented and guide us so that we can move forward. Otherwise, that is all pertaining to the document that appears here. Thank you, Chairperson and honorable members and colleagues.
No, thank you, Mr. I see the end of Honorable Smalley.
Yeah, Chairperson, if you want us to put on our videos, you must just indicate, but I'm all right without the video. I don't mind. Chairperson, I think let me appreciate the department and the staff with the questions. But one of the things that I think that is not coming through in the questions is when we start addressing the irregular expenditure. I would. It's normally the question will go into the matter of what actions has the department put in place to hold people accountable or for it. For me, it is about what systems has been put in place to address any of the irregular expenditure. Because it's one thing to hold people accountable, but it's another thing to put systems in place to improve your audit results that actually leads to a clean audit. So if it does carry weight for the committee at the end of the day, I would want us to start maybe addressing a question in that nature. And then one of the other issues that are coming out in some of the departments is the question around liabilities, and the question how it is phrased makes a reference to a net loss, and liabilities is not necessarily a net loss. Liabilities is sometimes an overcommitment by the department in the sense of over expenditure, or maybe possible litigation that the department is facing. And I think in the manner that we faced, how we phrase that question, it should actually be in reference for the department to explain their liabilities, and then and how they intend to mitigate against those liabilities. And because liabilities could also lead to I think the biggest concern, we will note that there will be always litigation against government, but the biggest concern for me would be the over expenditure by a department, which might jeopardize the financial good standing of the province in its totality, which was the main issue that got us into being placed under administration in 2011. And those are the questions around role. Maybe, I don't know if other departments are also heading that way. I don't want to start that conversation, but those are my 2 or 3 inputs when it comes to the actual the framework of questions, Honourable Chairperson, and thank you for allowing me these 3 minutes.
No, thanks, Honourable Smiley. I see the end of Honourable Butani and Honourable Pala.
No, thanks, Chair, and greetings to honourable members. Look, can we get a question that speak to Talana on Coxter?
Okay.
The exact amount that was used there, and then where did they get this money, and who is responsible, and what has happened to that person?
Okay.
Who was responsible, and what has happened to that person? That's number 1. Number 2, can we get a question that speaks to Marapong? Those flats of Marapong. How much was paid exactly before the project could even kickstart? By who? Why? How far exactly is the project now? And what is the intention of the department? And where are the contractors that led us into that mess? And what is the intention of the department with them? 2, that's number 2. Number 3, in terms that one of safety, safety. MEC Mabungu.
Yeah, safety, Honourable Butani. Proceed with the process. Yeah, sure.
It must tell us how many cases is it having. It must tell us how many cases is having in Mukopane, opened in Mukopane against the mines and the against the mines and the community of Mukopane, and how much has it costed us as the department? Those in and out arrests. In Mukopane between the communities and the mines. And what is the plan of the department to stabilize the situation in Mukopane between the mines and those communities? Because it's costing us a lot as a department, as government.
No, thank you. Thank you, Honourable Butani. Honourable Pala.
No, thanks very much, Honourable Chair. I think the first start, as you asked, then, Comrade Mr. Mukhari and Ma'am Molechi have tabled the report is to talk to it, and I think from where I'm sitting, I think we should adopt those questions, because when I do get them, generally they are based on what the Auditor General found in each of the department or public entity for the specific financial years. So I think that's the first thing we should do, Chair, to adopt those, and then we make the second point, Chairperson, is that I'm sure you will remember, Chair, that in many of the hearings we usually spend time on questions that the department didn't expect, which are matters that financial matters, not just general matters, financial issues that concern that department, like some investigation, some SIU report, or something of that kind, or financial scandal that may have happened in that department. We usually spend time there at the beginning before we go into the actual questions. My proposal would be, while that can still happen on anything that may emerge, because we are a standing committee on public accounts, and all the standing committees on public accounts do that. They don't leave a matter that the public is aware of and deal with matters like that as if they are not aware of one or two challenges that may affect the department you are dealing with. We can still do that, is fine, but where we are aware now of a financial matter concerning a particular department, Molechi there and Mokari, we should write a question at the end, in my view, at the end of those questions related to that matter. This helps us in two ways, Chairperson. It saves us time, one, because they don't start scratching heads and saying, yeah, nah, we never expected this. Because most of them come there ready to answer the questions that we send them. And they come even claiming the response. But when we hit them with a matter, they now start from scratch or even, hey. And then they start sending people to the department to get documents and all that. So if we are aware, and I'm going to go into some of them, if we are aware of a matter now that concerns, but it is appropriate at this stage to ask them in writing so that they can be ready to answer, but also so that they can be ready with the documents that we will need, and when they come to the hearing, and so on. And let me go through them that I propose that they be put at the end of each of the specific departments that they relate to. One, Gateway Airports Authority Limited, Chairperson. You know it has collapsed for some time. Is it 6 or 7 months or 8? And now we learn that it is up a week or 2 weeks ago. It's working again. And that falls in the Department of Transport. We should ask questions because in any event, it's inevitable. In the public hearing, we're going to ask it. So let's ask it now in writing. For what happened there? What were the problems? Who are the officials involved? What action has been taken against the negligent officials? Those are usually the key questions. There may be 4 or 5 following each other key questions in relation to a matter like this. Molechi and Mokari are old horses in this field of Scopa, so they will help in that regard. So let's get to those questions now. I'm giving that example of Carl. It had collapsed and the planes could not land at the airport. But you'll remember there was some boat of some kind, and there was a CEO and staff, CFO and staff. So we want to know what happened exactly, what were the problems, what led to the collapse, who are the officials who were responsible for running the entity when the collapse happened, and what action has been taken against those officials to remedy the situation, because you can't leave them. So that's GAL. The next one, Chairperson, because these things are going to, in the hearing, we will ask them. So I want to ask, my proposal is that where we can ask them in writing in time itself. The second one is Road Agency Limpopo, RAL. You will know there are investigations there. It was at some stage, it had what we call a financial collapse, where it was owing national government some amount of around 500 million rand because of the fact that the people who were there used money for conditional grants wrongly. What is not wrongly? What is the better way? They used the money for conditional grants for something else instead of the conditions of the grant, if you remember, Chair. So we ask about that, progress in that regard. what really happened there to that financial collapse, and what has since happened, who are the officials who were involved, and what the action has been taken against people who are responsible for deviating conditional grants that were for road maintenance and using them for road upgrading, if you remember the story, Chairperson. So the officials responsible for, because that was a clear negligence where officials took money from national for road upgrading and they used it for road maintenance, and they used that money for making roads, upgrading roads from gravel to tar. So we go into similar questions, 5 or more different questions going down there in that regard in relation to road agency Limpopo. The same Chairperson with what is called Great North Transport. We now know it had collapsed in the past, and what led to the collapse, who are the officials involved, what action has been taken. But there's a new matter now that happened a month ago, where we now learn that Great North Transport and actually the provincial government owes workers in that entity more than 300 million, which was misappropriated for their that is Utania, so everyone is aware. Yeah, so we then for the
you may proceed. You may proceed. And then Honorable Butani is not entitled to respond for now. When we summarize, he will come in. Honorable Pala, continue.
We now know that in the recent period, is it a month ago, that it was exposed that the provincial government through that entity has misappropriated, lost the other way, over 300 million of provident and pension fund of workers there. That was in the newspapers, Chairperson, I'm sure you saw it. So we follow that matter up. What is the problem? What happened? Who are the officials involved in the misappropriation? And what has the provincial government done to deal with that situation in the Great North Transport? So there are 2 different questions in Great North Transport. It's about their collapse in the past, where there were people who were responsible for that and action taken. And it's about the recent matter of Provident Fund that got lost, whatever happened, where workers were dying and there was no cent going to them. If you remember the very the story that is very bad that was coming from that entity. So we go through that. We then ask questions, because once we have asked questions of this kind in a hearing, usually the department then leaves and they think that we won't come back again in another hearing to ask to follow up on the matter, which is usually you find that is a matter of huge financial concern to the province. Let me give you an example and we must follow it up. The provincial government few years ago bought land into parts that was worth 8 million for 133 million, if you remember that. So it happened some time ago in the recent period. Up to now, we were told that they're every time we ask Treasury and everyone, we are told that there are investigations. Let's go into that also with Coxter. What really happened? Who are the officials involved in that department? And what action has been taken? Has there been any financial recoveries? Because the state must recover money from negligent officials. So everywhere we ask that question, Muleji, on whether there has been financial recovery of the monies that the state lost negligently, like in the case of the illegal and irregular acquisition of land in Dubai. The same, I think, with what the Honorable Butani has asked already, the Talana housing project scandal and the Dubai housing project scandal. So there are 2 separate questions on housing checks that happened in the province in the recent period, and we ask similar questions. What really happened? who are the officials involved and what action has been taken, and has there been any financial recovery in relation to losses to the state in that scandal projects that happened in Talana, in Tzaneen, and in Duwati, in Scopa. We also followed chairperson in health. There's been investigations by SIU into PPE procurement, you are aware, and you will have read the statement by SIU that 41 companies in the Department of Health in Limpopo were found to have irregularly procured. I'm sure you saw that. That was an official statement by SIU, Special Investigation Unit. We go into that. Let the Department of Health go into detail. Who are those 41 companies? What was the irregularity in relation to each? Who are the officials involved in the irregularity? And what action has been taken against the negligent officials? That one came from SIU. We follow it up, chairperson. Then we also follow in the Department of Health. You remember, it's a matter that has always been there, but no action was taken. If you, chairperson, you were there, you were the chairperson of health at that time. There was an irregular laundry tender in the Department of Health, in which a company in Vempe, which didn't have any experience or equipment, was given a tender to wash hospital laundry, and they were washing hospital laundry in a river. If you get what that means, in relation to spreading disease on the people who are washing, but also on the river going down, because hospital laundry has got a lot of diseases and bacteria and viruses and other things on it. You don't wash it in a river, and there's a particular care being taken when you wash hospital laundry. So let's follow that up in relation to the irregular laundry tender. What actually happened? Who are the officials who gave that tender? What action has been taken against them? And has there been any financial recovery in that regard? The same in the Department of Sport, Arts and Culture, because once we hold a hearing, chairperson, you will remember you were here even in the previous Scopa of Honorable Kennedy. They think that the matter has passed, they leave it, and then they concentrate on other matters. There's a matter, there are several matters there in relation to the various Mapungubwe Arts Festivals, chairperson. Because this question I am going to ask you, if they are put in front of me, you will of course know that. So I want to help them and ask them so that they do it in writing. They must articulate all those irregularities in the various Mapungubwe Arts Festivals that were found in forensic reports, and they must detail who are the officials involved and what action has been taken against the officials and what financial recovery has happened in that regard. You will, of course, in relation to this one specifically, remember a performer in Canada or America, I don't know his name, who was paid 2 million and never left Canada to come and perform, if you remember the story at that time, which was confirmed by the department at that time, even in the public hearing. The performer never even left Canada, but was paid 2 million. So let's follow that up. What has since happened in relation to that 2 million of that, what Collins something or whatever his name is? What has happened? Has the money been recovered from that performer in Canada or America who never flew out of the country but got paid? Then we go to the issue of Venda Building Society Mutual Bank in Treasury. We asked Treasury to give us a progress report in relation to this matter throughout the province, and on what action has been taken and against negligent officials all over the province up to date, so that we know. We know yesterday 3 officials were arrested in Duwati, but we want to know the overall picture in relation to this matter that concerns the entirety of the province. Then all departments, Muleji and Mukari, we asked them about this matter, what is called officials that do remunerative work outside the public service, and officials that do business with the state without being authorized, if you get the point. So they must detail in every department of all the 12 departments, that OTTs that come before us and entities, they must tell us who are the officials who are doing business with the state and what action has been taken against them. That is a long list, and I'm sure there are about thousands of them if you look at the list that is available at the Public Service Commission. But usually in the province, nothing happens if you look at that. So let's follow it. Officials that do business with the state, that's separate. But then there are officials that do what we call remunerative work outside the public service without being authorized, and we must also get the names of those officials and what all departments and what action has been taken against them. The final one is the loss of over 88 computers in the Department of Agriculture. Let's go through that slowly so that they tell us what happened in that regard. Similar questions, Muledi, in that regard. In this way, it helps us, Chairperson, to cover the ground of the questions that we will ask them when they are not ready and they're going to look for documents. They will have prepared themselves, they will have responded to the questions, they will have brought the questions to the hearing, and to that extent, it saves us both time and energy in the hearings when they are held. That's why I rest it, Honorable Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Can I have a follow-up, please?
There was a hand of Honorable Smali for a while. You want to speak?
Yes, Chair. I think Honorable Paula just reminded me something. I think especially around Treasury, Kokstyle, and Department of Transport, there should be questions to relate to how many internal investigations have they lodged into other departments or entities of the department, and what are those status? And this should include the SAU cases that there is. We know of Treasury doing a number of investigations into some of the municipalities, like Mogalakwena, Sekhukhune, and we never hear what are those status and what are the action being taken at that. So if we can add some of those initial questions into that, it will give an indication if the department is actually doing something, or if they're just letting certain things being idle. It's one thing to, so that's all I just wanted to add on the discussions of Honorable Paula. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Thank you. Is there any other member who would want to speak? If not, Mr. Mkhari and Ms. Molechi, the message that is coming, firstly, is that the questions as formulated, they are adopted. But secondly, is that you may need to, particularly if I was to start with the first question, we mustn't just stop at who did that and so on and so forth, but we must also go further to check on the systems that have been put in place now to remedy the situation. The question of liabilities comes in strongly. Honorable Phala and Honorable Butani dealt with the specific challenges what in the normal sittings we refer to as the contemporary issues, but they are not the contemporary those that were being raised. I'm sure you are aware, because these are matters that took place in the past, and we think by now the department should be in a better position to respond. So if that is the understanding of the House, of the committee, I would want to request Mr. Mkhari to take us through the next agenda item.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson and members of the committee. Thank you for also the inputs. We'll further request members who can write some of the inputs that they want to factor into the questions to do so, and we'll give them until maybe Friday or Monday, so that we can, at least as we consolidate them, we should also put them in, those who did not speak and those who can think of others while they are at home. Thank you very much. The next item, it is on the tabling of annual reports by the departments. I am reliably informed that there is no department which has tabled so far. It is about 7 or 8 which have submitted the reports, and they will be tabled at the sitting tomorrow at 14 hours. The departments will table their reports tomorrow at the sitting at 14 hours. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Perhaps it will be important to prepare the honorable members that those departments, once they table, we may be compelled at some point to quickly meet again in this fashion and formulate the questions for 2020, 2021. That will be key. And of course, it will be informed by what is contained in those reports. Can you take us through 4.3 if there are no comments or questions?
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson, members and colleagues. On item 4.3, we have requested the DDG financial governance from Provincial Treasury, Ms. Portia Semenya, to take us through. Thank you very much. Through you, Chairperson, can we allow Ms. Portia Semenya from Provincial Treasury to do so? Thank you.
Ms. Semenya, you are on the floor.
Good morning, Honorable Chair. Good morning, Honorable members. Thank you so much, Mr. Mukari. Honorable Chair, in terms of the clean audits in our province, in terms of provincial departments, in 2019-2020, we had 4 which attained clean audits, and the first one of the Premier, and Office of the Premier has maintained the clean audit in 2020-2021. The second one that we had in 1920 was provincial legislature. And however, in 2020-21, the provincial legislature did not maintain the clean audit. They received an unqualified audit opinion. On the third one in 2019-20 was provincial treasury, and they were able to maintain the clean audit also in 2020-21. And the last one in 2019-20 was transport and community safety, and they managed to maintain the clean audit. In terms of the new department that joined the clean audit arena is the Department of Economic Development, Tourism and Environment in 2020-21. So in terms of the numbers for our departments, we had 4 clean audits in 2019-20, and we maintained the 4 clean audits in 2020-21, with legislature dropping and LEDET joining the clean audit. On public entities, Chair, out of our 5 public entities, we only had Limpopo Gambling Board, which attained the clean audit in 1920 and also in 2020-21. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you. Let me take comments from honorable members. You will note, members, that when we met with the departments for the last time, it was basically 2 departments with clean audit. Hence, in my opening remarks, I said the kind of work that we are doing must not be undermined even by ourselves, because they have forced departments to start to behave in a particular manner. But related to that will be a consistent question which we were asking in the past. For those departments that have underperformed, whether they are unqualified and so on and so forth, we had a question that says, what is the plan, and or do you have a plan in place to improve? And those that have improved, we questioned on the sustainability, particularly those that are found in this space of clean audit. So perhaps we may need to continue to maintain that approach, and then we can be in a better position sometimes in the future. When we met at a national level, there was an indication that the Limpopo improved greatly when it comes to the clean audit, but the contrary was the case when it comes to the municipalities that are here in Limpopo, that they have regressed, and it is not a good message. So I think we may need to continue to maintain that question, Mr. Mkari, for all the departments. Those that have improved, we deal with the question, sustenance. And those that are stagnant, at what moment and or what are the systems in place that will make sure that they improve. On that note, let me take Mr. Mkari to deal with the last item.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. Having noted that the departments have not yet tabled their 2020 and 2021 annual reports, we thought we'll at least hold only 2019 public hearings in January. But because they're going to be tabled tomorrow, we are going to have public hearings for 2 financial years running, like we did in the last session. We'll have for 2019-2020 and 2020-2021. We'll issue out a program in our next sitting when we adopt the questions for 2020-2021. But probably will start around the 10th of January next year, tentatively. So the program will be issued when we meet in our next sitting for adoption, so that we send them to the department simultaneously. Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. On a lighter note, Chairperson, I want to tell you that yesterday, Honorable Smale attended this meeting. He thought today was yesterday. Thank you very much.
Oh, that is a serious symbol of commitment to serve our people and make sure that there is financial.
Chairperson?
Honorable members, let me try to call Chairperson. It looks like we have lost him.
Yeah.
Let me try to call him. I'll update you.
But honorable members, my apologies. I was experiencing some bit of network challenges where I am. But be that as it may, it seems we will be compelled to meet again before the rising of the House just to adopt the questions for 2020-2021. I see Honorable Smale's hand.
Chairperson, just for something to consider, and when we are meeting before we do proceed with this hearings, I think because we are doing a virtual session, normally what we used to do is that we would allow different members to ask different questions. And I'm not so sure about the network availability during such a session, if it's always stable depending on where a member is. Maybe this time around, although that members will ask questions or follow-up questions, I think we should maybe consider, or maybe you should come up with a proposal to say how we want to address this thing going forward. Maybe the chairperson would ask the general 11 questions, and then we will just jump in with the following up questions as members. But I think it's something that we should consider just for a proper flow on a virtual session that might bring some challenges, and just to limit some of those challenges, should there be any sort of network concerns or that might be experienced by members during that session.
No, thanks. Honorable Smale, one of the proposals that we were going to bring before this committee, we were thinking that because the space in the legislature is way bigger, we were thinking that we may need to still follow the physical route. Unless if by January we'll be in full swing around the next wave of COVID-19. But we thought wherever and whenever possible, the physical engagement becomes key. Also because you will remember from our experience that departments come, they leave some critical papers and or documents behind. So if members will be comfortable with that kind of an arrangement, we may not be forced to operate in the manner that you are proposing. But if they are not, definitely we will need to take that route. But we felt for Scopa, you are dealing with an entire financial year, which takes time by its very nature. But it will be up to the members to later adopt one of the two mechanisms when we meet again. And then that will be the way that will be dealing with these questions. Is there any further comment?
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Is an apology from Honorable Slamalela. He just sent a message that he will join us at 10 o'clock, and I don't think you'll find the meeting. Thank you very much. But let us just record this apology.
No, thanks. No, thanks. Honorable Butani. Honorable Butani, your hand is up. Honorable Butani, your hand is up. Do you want to say something?
Hello?
Yes, I'm giving you the floor, Honorable Butani.
Yeah, I'm saying Scopa can't be visual, Chair. If we are to do justice to ourselves, the processes and everything else. So we must just agree that we must be physical. I mean, the reality of the matter, Chair, is that we are all going out, we are doing everything. From elections, we from conferences. So we are meeting physically, we are meeting everywhere. So that thing of the waves and that is people trying to be technical and lazy. The reality of the matter is that one way or the other we are doing things physically. So we need to come and sit. I mean, with all those documents, how are we going to work on it here? Yes, that's my take.
No, thanks, Honorable Bhutan. I don't know if there's still someone. I see a hand. I'm not so sure who is that, but let me allow that person the platform. Yeah, here there's just a number. I don't see the person. Okay. Be that, there's a proposal again in writing that says physical is always better. Perhaps that is the contribution that this participant needed to bring on board. And I'm sure even Honorable Smiley, it's not hard. It was just a proposal. So I would want us to firm up that in the next engagement, particularly with the departments, we may need to meet with them physically. We spoke to the team earlier on from the legislature side to allow us space, and where we will be dealing with the smaller departments and the entities, we still can meet at the clubhouse as usual and maintain your social distances and other compliance requirements. On that note, I think we will have to proceed to the next item, not the part that says any other business, because here we were dealing with the specific ones. But if there are some announcements, Mr. Mukari, you can take us through.
We do not have any specific announcement. We simply want to emphasize that members who, when they check these questions, can find something, some more information, are at liberty to send us the amendments that they want to make. Otherwise, thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thanks indeed, Mr. Mkari, and thanks to all the honorable members who managed to participate. At least by adopting these questions, we've put the train in motion to later meet with all the departments as well as the entities and engage on the 2 financial years, 2019-2020 and 2020-2021. With those few words, the meeting stands adjourned.
Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson.